All right. Hey everyone, it's Karen, Executive Director of Stand Up California. This evening, we're speaking to a very special guest in the light of many great breakthroughs for medical freedom and health rights happening in LA right now. We wanted to bring on California educators for medical freedom. I've personally been following this group of incredible medical freedom warriors and their stories since the beginning. I still remember one of the very first rallies that they had in front of LA City Hall. And I still remember the chills running through as LAUSD educators from the second largest school district in the nation. And I mean, that night there was educators from all neighboring cities standing up for their bodily autonomy, religious beliefs. And it was such a powerful moment that has brought us here to this moment today. We have a lot to talk about today, but I would love to start with some introductions. So if you can just tell us your name, if you'd like to share your position with the district, and how long have you been part of LAUSD?
Okay, I'll start. Hi, my name's Tracy Schroeder, and I've been an elementary school teacher with LA Unified School District since 1998. That was 26 years ago.
Wow. Thank you, Tracy.
Hi, my name is Blanca Licea. I've been with the district with LAUSD for 36 years. I worked in adult division, and I was a business instructor for the adult division.
Thank you, Blanca.
Hi, I'm Sonny Lloyd. I've been with the district since 2002. So this is my 21st year teaching social studies with LAUSD.
Thank you, Sonny.
And my name is Annette Antilla. I started working for LA Unified as a teacher in elementary in 1987 and taught for 34 years before I was forced to retire.
Thank you so much for being here, Annette. And thank you all. There's something so special about listening to you all. And this might be a separate conversation, but I can truly feel the passion you all have for teaching and being part of the district. And we are seeing such a need for educators that truly care about the education of our children and what they really do. So many of us saw the injustice of this mandate caused for educators and staff for LAUSD that have been with the district for years and years. If we can move into a little bit during the time of the mandate, we personally had parents share their testimony that they couldn't even volunteer for their child's school if they didn't have the vaccination. For those of you that don't know, LA County, LAUSD, LA City COVID vaccine mandates have been one of the strictest, harshest, unjust mandates that we've seen. I want to ask you guys, feel free to unmute. When did you all know that this was a hill for you and you were going to stand for bodily autonomy? And what were some of the biggest challenges yourself and your families endured during this time?
Well, for me, it was one of those things where I felt like, I felt like I was called to teach my class. It was shocking and heartbreaking to think that this could be a reality. And honestly, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it would even go through. I thought maybe they'd postpone it. I thought maybe we would fight it, stop it. And I honestly it was shocking that they didn't bring us back. Mm-hmm. But I knew as it was getting closer and closer to the date. I mean, honestly, when my principal came to talk to me, all I could do was cry. I couldn't even talk to him. I could just cry. And then the day came when they told us, that was it. And I couldn't even, I still didn't believe it would be real. All I told my students was, I have to go and speak to the school board. So I'm going to be working out some issues downtown. And I plan to be back soon. And I wrote love notes. I'm going to cry just saying it. I wrote love notes to my class. Every single child's homework folder had a love note from that Friday. And I put a big poster that I made up on the wall saying I'll be back as soon as I can. And those kiddos wrote to me on we had a little education platform saying, "Where are you?" And I didn't even know what to say. It was so horrific and shocking. So that was kind of when did I know it was a hill? I don't know. I guess it was, I'm a person of faith. I pray, and I really just wrestled in my prayer time. And honestly, I don't want to hog everyone else's time, but I was reading Psalm 18 when I had a friend pray over me. There's nothing you can do that will hurt, that will disappoint God, because he knows that you're trying to do what's right. And I had a friend who was telling me, you can't take this, it's the worst of the worst of the worst. And saying it's the mark of the beast, right? That was real. And I was wrestling with it, and I just searched in my Bible, but when I read Psalm 18, it landed on me. This is it. This is where I land. So that's it for me. Meanwhile, I'll just say one more thing. Every single year I ask my students, hey, and I didn't know that you're not allowed to ask this. How many of you took the flu shot this year? And half the hands would go up. And I would ask, how many of you got the flu this year? And every hand would go up. So there's things that are freedom issues, there's things that are faith issues, and there are parts that are just common sense issues. So that's kind of a piece of my journey.
Thank you for sharing, Tracy. Would anybody else like to share?
Well, I will. For me, it was probably in the spring of 2021 when the vaccines first came out. Everybody at my school was saying, oh, I got my flu shot or got my vaccine. And one of the newbies, the tech person, asked if I would need help registering online for the vaccine. And I said, no, thank you. And at that point, it became known that I was not taking the vaccine because she asked why. And I just told her, I don't believe that I'm going to take the flu shot because of my religious belief, and thought nothing more of it until Friday the 13th in August, when I was at my school, the pupil-free day. I sat down at my computer, opened up the emails from the LAUSD, and bam, there at 8:33, there was a district-wide email that went out stating that by October 15th, if you had not been vaccinated, you would no longer be allowed on your school, any school campus, any property of LAUSD. And I ran to my principal and asked about it. He had no idea. In fact, I didn't even, I back up. I went to a staff meeting. He said nothing about it during our Zoom staff meeting. So I quickly researched, found some articles, found some backing from CDC about the effect of this and how efficient it was. And then I went to the principal and said, hey, you never said anything about this email this morning at our staff meeting. And he had no clue whatsoever. And I said, what's going to happen? Are they really going to do it? He says, I have no idea. This is the first time I've ever heard about this. So I was just, it was like living in unsurreal times, because it's like, how could they do this? Because I have constitutional rights that prevent this from happening. And also there was supposed to be this HIPAA privacy Health Privacy Act that you're not supposed to have your health information out there for everybody to know. And yet LAUSD was seemingly like there was going to do this. And it's just like, I can't believe they're going to back down. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do this. And I kept asking my principal week by week, what's news? And he really didn't know anything until he came in and asked me. He said, oh, you were right. I have these set questions that I have to ask you. Are you willing to take the vaccine? And I said, no. Okay, then are you willing to resign or retire? I said, no. Are you willing to take an unpaid leave? And it's like, for how long? And I said, how long will it be? And he didn't know. And I said, I don't want to take unpaid leave because I want to teach. And he says, okay, I already knew your answers. I just had to do the formality of asking these questions. And that was October 7th. And then just a week later, that was my last day. And I did ask my principal if I could send home with my third graders this letter explaining why I was not doing this. And he said, okay. And I had put references to CDD website of their facts. And I said, I've done my research. Please do your research before you even consider vaccinating your own children. So, and I gave him several links that I had used, and my principal was fine with that. So, and I told my students that this vaccine had already proven that there were hundreds of people had died at that point. And I said, if there were any other product in history that was on the market where 5 people died, they took it off the market right away, deemed unsafe. And it's like, there are already hundreds by that time that had been proven by CDC that had died as a result of this, and yet they were still pushing it. And I said, you know, my religious belief prevents me from taking this, but it just didn't make sense with all the facts that were out there.
Yeah, it's really hard to believe that they continue to basically, to me, this is my, interpretation, push you guys into a corner, and it became whether either take the jab or, it essentially lose your position. And just for some background information, according to the Globe, an article on the Globe, as of May of 2023, which is just a few months back, LAUSD was still firing experienced teachers over their COVID vaccine mandate, while simultaneously advertising that they were hiring teachers. And I had no idea that they were offering $5,000 bonuses to new right out of college, non-credential teachers. So for everybody that's tuning in and listening, y'all heard that these educators have been with LAUSD since 1990, 1987, we've heard. Overall, LAUSD terminated 1,000 teachers. I'm not sure if that's the correct number, if it's more, for declining to take the COVID vaccines. I would like to dive a little bit more into the legal things. You all had a lawsuit with Health Freedom Defense Fund, whose president is Leslie Mnookin, against LAUSD for firing educators and staff that took an informed consent decision and did not take the COVID vaccine based on medical or religious basis, and ultimately because it violated your employee liberty protected by the 14th Amendment and the Constitution. And we heard Annette speak about that. And just a quick ad for those who may not know, Leslie Mnookin is an incredible woman, health rights warrior, and she also gave us The Greater Good back in 2011, a documentary about the HPV jab. So if you haven't watched that and you're listening tonight, please make sure you go watch it. And I want to ask you guys, how did your mindset, because this battle was a big one, and one can argue that it was very David and Goliath. We've heard a little bit about your experience, in a sense that LAUSD is the biggest school district in California, second in the nation. They clearly didn't care about or respect your decisions, personal belief, religious belief, medical. And I just learned that you had tried to bring this lawsuit forward more than once against LAUSD. But how did it feel back a few months ago when it was taken to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, I believe, and one of the judges, he admitted that he was shocked, and it's a direct quote, and floored by LAUSD's ongoing COVID-19 vaccine mandate for its employees, as well as LAUSD's irrational justification of the policy. What did that mean to you all after going through this tough couple of years with the district?
Well, I'll just say it was, we have this t-shirt now that says vindicated, not vaccinated, right? And that's kind of what it felt like. Basically our argument, our position was now being known across the land. It blew up really on social media, like something like, 1 million views or whatever on Twitter. And a lot of YouTube channels picked it up and dissected the argument. So yeah, it felt really good. And, you know, it kind of, it validated everything we've been doing, meeting every week, having fundraisers, having rallies, you know, giving up our jobs, really, giving up our livelihoods. So, you know, it felt like, you know, a vindication, and it just gave us spirit to keep moving, right? We want to actually make this stick and actually win that case and establish, you know, that bodily autonomy in this country. We know, you know, we kind of have we're not going straight after, you know, the right to refuse any medication, because it's such a hard hill to battle. But we're saying, hey, if you are going to mandate something, you need to prove it has to be rational. It has to work, you know. And so we feel like I feel like we're carving out space right now in this broader battle for bodily autonomy. So feel really good about it.
Thank you, Sunny. Would anybody else like to share?
I will. To backpedal what you had said about that earlier, I know the Health Freedom Defense Fund had picked up our case back in the spring before the COVID mandate came out, and they took it to court. And because there was rumblings about the district, LAUSD was going to have that as a requirement for employment. So they went and took it to the courts, and Leslie picked it up pro bono. And at the end of July, they basically threw it out because the district proved that there was no mandate. And yet 3 weeks later, everybody received the email, the shock of our lives. And I think we have proof now that when it was in the courts in July, the district already had plans in the background for it. So they weren't exactly truthful when they said they didn't have a mandate. It was in the works for the mandate, but right at the moment, I suppose you could say, if you're looking at black and white, they were telling the truth. They did not have a mandate. But the big but is that they already knew they were going to put it in place just weeks later.
Very strategic. Again,
Yes.
This is my personal opinion of LAUSD. I think that they do, you know, things very strategically. And thank you for sharing, Annette. Would anybody else like to feel what their experience was? I know that I was jumping up and down for joy for you guys, because I knew that it was then that things were going to hopefully take a more positive turn.
It was so exciting to watch that, to hear it, to hear the words. It was so affirming that all of this just turmoil that we've been through, all the losses, all the hits, so many people had been without work, without pay since November of 2021, and another round of another 300 teachers and similar roles to teachers. Another lost their had another 15 months unpaid, and many were forced to retire. I mean, it was just, it's been so much. And to hear them, it was like, what? Like, wow, that's real. They're really saying that. And then the other part of it was we rewatched it as a group, and it was just amazing. First of all, it just felt good, but also the lawyer was lying over and over and over again in that. Like, we were like, wait, that was a lie. That was a lie too. That was a lie. And so it feels good to finally have the beginning of what feels like a win. The judge's decision hasn't come out yet.
Mhm.
That maybe in the next couple of weeks, and then, you know, we'll see what the next steps are. But just to have that win, that felt amazing.
The one she was talking about is that the district had decided to rescind the mandate. However, I think it was the very next day the superintendent said it's rescinded for now, but we can reinstate it if the events or they could reinstate it at their discretion. So this is a very important reason why we need to continue the fight. Even though it's rescinded, they could put it back in place at any time, but we want to be able to carry this to fruition to the end, because our second case that we have brought to the courts was originally thrown out from LA County. And that's why we took it to the Ninth Circuit, because we believe it should be heard. The courts here didn't even want to hear it. And so the court's ruling in the Ninth Circuit in a matter of a couple of weeks, we're hopeful that the ruling will be that it must be heard. And if it is, then it goes back to LA County, where it will be a tried case. So hopefully we can have this fully funded, and because it's no longer pro bono, but we have to have it fully funded to move forward and hopefully put a lid on this thing and end it for all.
Yes, and just to piggyback a little bit on your remarks, Annette, that LAUSD board meeting in late September, I believe it was when it was rescinded. I watched as an outsider. I'm not an educator, I'm an advocate, but just their demeanor, their body language. We had President Goldberg, right, yelling at the camera. At one point, my daughter's like, "Mom, why is she so mad?" And they were in strong opposition of rescinding the mandate. And to me, again, personally, this is just the way I interpret it, is again their admiration for power in all of this, because like Sunny said, prove that it's a pharmaceutical, a vaccine that is really effective, and they can't. There's so many adverse reactions, and I feel like this is going the right way. But what is the next step for California Educators for Medical Freedom? So you had you're waiting for the judge to make a ruling or come up with a decision. You had LAUSD rescind the vaccine mandate, which, correct me if I'm wrong, this means that anybody that was let go can come back, but they're not getting back pay right now. They're not.
Well, what's happening is, so on that day, they knew they lost. It was bad, right, for them. And so on September 4th.
I'm sorry, they knew that they lost when they heard the judges say those things. And then just a matter of less than 2 weeks later, they rescinded it. Go ahead, Tracy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that was September 14th. The case was heard in the Ninth Circuit. On September 26th is when the superintendent had filed that, okay, we'd better rescind this, which is a legal term that means, act as if it never happened. And so they voted on it. They voted on it in a way that's, I'll just say, ugly, right? It just was unfavorable. It was demeaning, and it was rude. I would have liked an apology even just for that. But the teachers who are so first up, the teachers who've been unpaid but not fired, and I'm one of them, they have been asked to go back into the classroom, but not as a teacher, basically as an on-call substitute, not reinstated into what typically would be, we call it on the matrix, where you have a position at that school. You have to actually reapply to schools to get a regular position. And according to the contract, if you don't get a certain position within a certain amount of time, you would lose your job. And so there's weird things that are not quite in place. Amendments needed to be made, and we spoke out, we called out in that meeting, but so far it has not been heard. We reached out to another group who has not been supportive, which is called The Only Voice Allowed to speak on our behalf, which is a crazy situation called the Teachers Union. And they've done nothing. And but so far a lot of so in that position, those teachers have gone back. Some are waiting. Some are saying, this is unacceptable. You're sending me to another country, basically, to that's with a commute that's just completely unacceptable. And meanwhile, there's so many who were either fired or who were forced to resign, who are told straight up, you have to reapply to the district to even if there's going to be a position for you. So it's not, things are not quite right yet. Yeah.
And what are some of your next steps as California Educators for Medical Freedom?
Well, we're with the case, you know, we want to win the case, right? That's our main goal to, you know, and this is, the case really isn't going to help us with our jobs. It's more about just helping out, you know, the country really and humanity and giving that right of body autonomy. So, you know, we have a fundraiser coming up next month. We would want to talk a little bit about that. You know, we're basically pressuring our union and pressuring the district and continuing to speak out for our rights of return, our rights to back pay, just continuing to fight for that. You know, we're probably going to have some more rallies, some more, you know, protests and things like that, speaking at the school board and, you know, really, you know, continuing to organize in LA around body autonomy, no matter what happens with this case, win or lose, you know, this is a right. We want to continue to be part of the medical freedom movement, the health freedom movement in LA. And it's going to be, it's going to be a long road, right? But we're willing, all these civil rights movements were long struggles, women's rights and, you know, racial minorities and all that. So we're gonna continue to fight and continue to educate people here in LA and, you know, make sure LAUSD doesn't do this again, but also the city workers, everybody. We worked with cops and firefighters and all kinds of people across the city that came to our rallies and we went to theirs. And so we're just going to continue to hang together in this health freedom movement, medical freedom movement, whatever they call it, different things, but it's all the same thing, body autonomy. So yeah, that's kind of the short of it, right?
And I
Sorry,
hope that
me-
we can be a partner in all of this and, you know, be at your rallies, school board meetings, supporting California Educators for Medical Freedom, making sure that we connect our LA community to you guys and be a support to you.
Karen, oh, go ahead. Who was that? Annette?
Yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
I was just going to say, Karen, we'd love to invite you and everybody listening to our fundraiser coming up December 2nd.
Yes,
it's going to be a special event. Blanca will be able to tell you some of the details. And but anybody can donate and get more information at our website, which is educatorsformedicalfreedom.com. You can see it next to my name. And you'll be able to go on. Anyone can donate directly on there to the lawsuit, as well as get more information about our December 2nd fundraiser. Also, anyone can follow us at, you can see it under Sani's name and Annette's names. You can see our Twitter handle and our Instagram as well.
I was just going to say, it's not just for the teachers who got that were put in this position, but it was also affecting anybody on campus that could no longer do their jobs. That includes cafeteria workers, janitors, electricians, plumbers, painters, groundskeepers, you name it. If you think about a school system and all the people that it takes to run it and keep the buildings up, those people couldn't do their jobs anymore, and they didn't get fired. They just said that there was no more work. And how can you live in Los Angeles without a paycheck? So most of the people did go ahead and resign or quit to get a job somewhere else. And so this, even though it sounds like the case may be just for educators, it's really for anybody who believes in medical freedom, because this case will set precedents for everybody who wants to have a choice of whether to take a vaccine or not because your employer says to take it or else bye-bye. You know, this will benefit anybody who believes in medical freedom. So that's why we would love any donations toward this case, because it helps everybody who wants medical freedom.
Thank you, Annette. Blanca, do you have some of the details?
Yes. I want to piggyback on what Annette said. This is for everybody. It's not just for the teachers or anybody here in LAUSD. It's for the whole world, to be honest with you. We are trying to write our own Declaration of Independence. We're trying to write our, it's for freedom of bodily autonomy. Whatever you want to do with your body, whatever you want to do, you have the right. Our our creator gave us that right, and no one is going to take that right away from us. And this is not, I'm not going to say LAUSD, but the board members of LAUSD. It's the ones that they try to take away this right from us. And it's a right that our creator gave us. It's you, whoever, whatever you want to do. I'm not judging people who want to take the vaccine. Fine, do it, but don't force it on me, and don't make it something that I have to do in order for me to work for you. And that's what LAUSD try to do. They try to force us to do something that we were not okay. Like I said, I teach adult ed, and most of my students, when they heard that I was leaving and the reason why I was leaving, they're like, well, we're not vaccinated, so why are you leaving? And it's like, why are they demanding that from you when we ourselves are not vaccinated? And I did have some high school students, but the this is, when all of this, right? It's so unreal, Karen. It's so unreal. It's hard to believe that it's happening here in the United States. It's happening to all of us. And even though some of these people who, you know, got the vaccine, some of them are really regretting it. But you know what? That was their choice. Nobody forced it on them. That was their choice. And I myself, I speak for myself, was not going to do anything that I was not, my creator was telling me, you have the right to say no. And I want all my grandchildren, my kids, and everybody to know that we have that right here in the United States. We have that freedom. And I just want everybody who listens to your podcast or listens to feel that freedom that I feel, even though I don't have a job. My benefits were taken away. Everything was taken away from me. But I have that feeling, the freedom of the feeling that I have inside of me, that nobody is going to force me to do anything that I don't want to do. And I'm sorry, maybe it's off topic, but I wanted to say that.
No, that is great. And that's the United States was founded upon freedom, right? And I love this quote that says, our freedoms that we surrender today are the freedoms that our children or grandchildren will not be able to enjoy in the future. And I think what California Educators for Medical Freedom is doing is for the whole world, but it's also for the future of my child. My daughter, she's 5. You guys don't even know how much this means to me. And I'm such a fangirl right now speaking to you guys because, like I said, I've been following you all for a very long time. And just knowing that at the end, there is, God wins at the end, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. That's the importance of standing for your rights, your religious rights, your medical freedom, your health rights, whatever you want to call it. You just have to stay strong, and I'm so thankful for all of you guys.
Thank you.
Let me add one more piece. Is that okay, Karen?
Yeah, of course.
Because once you wake up and you are on the freedom, you know that your rights are being violated as they are, you start to wonder, where is this really coming from? And so a lot of us started digging deep, and my friend invited me to a constitution group. And so I invited our California Educators for Medical Freedom to let's brush up on our Constitution. And so some of us stepped up in 2022. Sonny here, he ran for LA City School Board in District 11. I ran for school board. I said it wrong. City Council. I said it wrong. Thank you, Sonny, for running, because we need medical freedom candidates. And so when he did that, I stepped up and I did run for LA Unified School Board in District 4. And this year, it's a different election. It's districts 1, 3, 5, and 7. And we are getting medical freedom candidates to run. We've got Raquel Vialta. who's running in District 3, which is the North and East and West Valley. And so RaquelVialta.com is her website. We've got Lydia Gutierrez, another medical freedom candidate who's running in LAUSD District 7. And her website is Lydia, LYDIA, number 4, education.com. And she's medical freedom. Coming soon, signing up next week is Nikisha Lester Spinner, LAUSD District 1. And coming soon, we'll have someone running in District 5. I'm in the interim, I'm running for state assembly, and I'm rallying other candidates for medical freedom so we at least have a showing of medical freedom candidates that we can all get behind, because it's all hands on deck. This is we the people. I don't care what anyone's registered to vote as. It's we the people. So I'm pretty fired up about that, because it started with our rights being violated, and now it's time to step up and let's take back our country, our nation, our freedoms, and stand together as we all believed our country was formed to be.
Yeah.
Amen to that. And Tracy, we'll stay connected because side note, I want to start another project where we get candidates talking and just interviewing them, their, position and all of that. So we'll stay in touch. But that is amazing to hear. I am so happy and excited for that. Sunny, we'll wait for your announcement as well soon. And just last week, for everybody that's tuning in, the Los Angeles City Council put forward a motion to end their COVID vaccine mandate for all city employees. So they want to align the city with federal and county vaccination directives. There still needs to be more meetings in regards to that. They haven't made a decision yet, but the idea has been put out there. And I just have to say that it is about time. And I want to thank every single LA warrior who stood their ground, like the California educator for medical freedom here today, for their health rights, religious rights, and that said, my body, my choice. We got to use their language. In a county, in a city that is very much set in their ways because of the current leadership, you guys are the ones making this happen. And I always like to say, as so goes California, so goes the nation. But I truly believe that LA is the model a lot of times for what they're trying to implement everywhere else. And we're in the belly of the beast, and I could not be more honored to get to know you, to work with you guys. I'm just thankful for California Educators for Medical Freedom. So on behalf of Stand Up California, we're here. We're gonna support you guys in anything that we can. And I want to thank you guys for sharing your journey. You guys shared where people can find you, but if I can just have one of you guys share again your website, your Instagram, and if somebody else wants to share what your biggest ask for our Stand Up California community is. You guys share the fundraiser, funding. What is it that we can support you the most for everybody that's listening here tonight?
Tracy or Sonny?
I would say the lawsuit is preeminent, is very important. That has to be one. And then number two, just getting our rights to return, our rights to back pay, our rights to justice after this mandate, the silly mandate has been dropped. We deserve to be, treated with respect and have be restored basically. To our former positions. And so if you could call the school board, speak out at the school board, and then third, just continue to connect with us on a community, on an organizational level. Just continue to build with us, contact us. Anything that you're involved with, let us know, and we'll let you know. Just continue to follow us and continue to build this movement.
Awesome.
It just feels so good to be able to connect with other groups and to get, stay connected with you, because for so long we really felt so alone in so many ways. And having your group come and join our Zooms back in the beginning, it was like we needed friends, and you guys were there for us. Thank you so much. So we'll see this all the way through. I believe it's after this jury, if we make it next step to a jury trial, it'll probably be appealed, and then it'll probably head to the Supreme Court. So there's going to be a next steps and next steps, but we're not getting back down. We're not giving up. We're in this. So thank you so much for caring.
So
And Karen, oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Blanca, go ahead.
Go ahead. I just want to say one last thing, Karen. And everybody that's listening, to please stop living in fear and don't let anybody inflict that fear on you. We are like the Declaration of Independence says, our rights came from our creator. Yeah. And no one has the right to take it away from you. And also, Karen, one thing that I'm gonna invite you to our and
Oh, Blanca, you're breaking up. Is it just for me?
LAUSD employees.
Blanca, if you can hear us, you're breaking up just a little bit.
Sorry. Sorry.
It sounded like she was encouraging people to not walk in fear. That was,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
I just want to add my personal take on it, because after 34 years of teaching with LA Unified and Impeccable Record, I was a national board, or I still am a national board teacher for the last 21 years. And my last year, I was helping 3 brand new teachers at my school to obtain their clear credential, and was planning to continue to help to continue, because it's a 2-year program, and was told after being removed or being told I can't be on my campus where I had been for 30 years, that I no longer could even set foot on it, and was put online to teach. And at the end of the year, again, famous Friday the 13th, in May, they sent out an email to 220 teachers that were online, saying that there is no position for you. And yet 5 days later, the union sent out a letter asking what would cause you as an educator to leave the LAUSD with a historic all-time shortage of teachers. And it's just like they don't know what's one entity is doing while the other one, it's just like you let go of 220 teachers, and yet you're saying there's a historical teacher shortage. For me, the sun has already set for me, because I chose to retire. I wanted to stay on for another 3, 4, 5 years, but and I go around and I'm working in another district, and I go and spread the word to people, other teachers. They don't even have a clue that this is going on still. They didn't even know anything about the purgatory that we were put through, the segregation. It feels like something from 100 years ago, where people were segregated. We were literally segregated into a group and were deemed as unsafe people just because we didn't take a vaccine. And just like Blanca was saying, this country was founded on freedom. This is a basic freedom for anybody in the world. There should never be a vaccine mandate for anything. You should have a choice. And we all chose either a medical exemption or a religious exemption. The district acknowledged it, but still segregated us from our own students and our own schools that we had been at for so many years. So the biggest thing that people who are listening could do to help end this is to fund our lawsuit, to finalize it.
Thank you
like Tracy,
so much, Annette.
like Tracy said, we're hopeful that it could end in LA County. That would be great if they would rule that in our favor, that no employer can mandate it. But we're leery, and if they say if we don't have a good ruling here, we're willing to take it to the Supreme Court, which would mean more funds are needed to continue the case. So please, if you're able and feel the need, donate.
And just for everybody listening tonight, we will have all of the links in the description where you can find California Educators for Medical Freedom and their upcoming fundraiser where you can donate. And just thank you again all for coming on with me and sharing your story. And I look forward to big wins for LA. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.